Immunization schedules are commonly tested items in medical licensure exams. They can, however, be very challenging to memorize as well as recall when required. This is because the timing of the dosage of each vaccine can appear quite random, despite the fact that the timings were determined on the basis of safety and efficacy data derived from large-scale clinical trials. Mnemonics can help to fill this memory gap. There are multiple techniques of creating mnemonics, as can be seen in this table. In this video, I have used metaphors, similes, and visual imagery to create mnemonics for major components of the ACIP immunization schedule that is directed towards the United States. Let me clarify that I touch upon the major components, not every tiny detail of the ACIP schedule. But I still feel that going through the video will help you recall major dosages and major timings better. Let's jump in. So the first vaccine that's administered right at the time of birth, soon after birth, is the hepatitis B vaccine, the first dose of it. B for birth, B in hepatitis B. That should help you make the connection. Now the schedule for Hep B is 016. 0 means at birth, you give the first dose. At 1 month, you give the second dose. And then at 6 months, you give the third dose. How do you remember that the third dose of hepatitis B is due at 6 months and not at 2 months? This is a common confusion because at 2 months of age, a bundle of vaccines becomes due. Now, the trick to remember is to think of hepatitis as hexatitis. Hex is the Greek word for 6, and that should help you make the connection that at 6 months of age, the third dose of hepatitis, hexatitis B, is due. Now let's go on to the 2-month doses. At 2 months, 4 months, and 6 months, the same group of vaccines are to be given sequentially. Let's refer to them as the 246 group of vaccines. Even though they are all to be given at each of these time points, let's use each number separately for the purposes of mnemonics. Think of 2 as, well, number 2. That means at 2 months of age, the vaccines that are given target the viruses that spread by fecal-oral route, namely the poliovirus and the rotavirus, to which the children in these age groups are especially susceptible. That means at 2 months of age, you give IPV, the injectable poliovirus vaccine, as well as the rotavirus vaccine. Moving on to 4. 4 alphabets, 4 months. DTaP, diphtheria, tetanus, and acellular pertussis. Do not confuse DTaP with Tdap. And how do we remember this? D for diapers, D for DTaP. It's the younger kids who wear the diapers. That means for the younger kids, it's DTaP that is to be given and not the Tdap, which is due at a later age or it's suitable for a later, older age group. Now let's move to number 6. You can imagine the number 6 as the lowercase alphabet B, as you can see in the picture here, to help you better with the visual imagery. And this should help you remember HIB, the Haemophilus influenza B vaccine. If you flip number 6 upside down, it becomes the alphabet P, and this should help you remember pneumococcal vaccine, P for pneumococcal. Now, although we used each number for specific vaccines, all of these are to be given at all 3 time points, 2 months, 4 months, and 6 months. And what are these vaccines? 2 fecal-oral, IPV, rotavirus, DTaP, Haemophilus influenza B, and pneumococcal vaccine. At 6 months, there are more vaccines which can be given if it's the season. If it's the flu season, influenza season, then at 6 months of age, you can give kids influenza vaccine, and you can also give them the COVID vaccine. Now, what's the way to remember this? You can complete the curve of C join the loop to the other end and turn the C into a 6. And that should help you remember that a 6-month-old kid can remember COVID, can get the COVID vaccine if cases are peaking in community and you want to give them protection. Also, F for flu, and F is the 6th alphabet in the English language. So again, the flu shot can also be given to somebody who is 6 months old. Now do note that at the 6-month visit to the pediatrician, a lot of shots could be due. This should not be a reason for overwhelm because again, large-scale clinical trials have demonstrated safety and efficacy of this data. Let's now move to 1 year of age. What vaccines are to be given at this point? One, varicella. The beginning sounds are common. That means at age 1, 12 months of age, you can give varicella vaccines first dose. This particular slide, the vaccines on this slide, they pertain to the first dose only. By age 1, most kids are also eating solid food or munching on solid food. So the M should help you remember the first dose of MMR, which is measles, mumps, and rubella. And this is important to remember because you should not confuse this with the other M vaccine, which is the meningococcal vaccine that is due at a later age group. So at age 1 year or 12 months of age, you have varicella vaccines, first dose that is due. MMR because kids are munching on solid food by this age. And because they're munching on solid food, you have to offer them additional protection against another virus that can spread by the fecal-oral route, which is the Hep A virus, the hepatitis A virus. So the first dose of hepatitis A vaccine is also due at age 1. The next big chunk of vaccines are to be given at the school-going age. This is a major milestone in children's lives as they again start to congregate in major numbers together and the spread of infections can be more rapid and more frequent. So between 4 to 6 years of age, before you send the kids for boosting their brains, protect them from brain-damaging bugs. This is a mnemonic that should help you remember that the viruses that can have neurological sequelae, you have to protect against them. You have to boost against them. Both tetanus and polio can cause paralysis, while varicella and mumps can cause encephalitis. So at age 4 to 6, between that range, you have to boost with IPV, the injectable poliovirus vaccine, DTaP, diphtheria, tetanus, acellular pertussis, MMR, and varicella. The next major transition happens at the cusp of adolescence, the ages 11 to 12, when they may start to attend more camps, they may start to go to boarding schools, use dorms, they may indulge in sexual experimentation. And this is the time when you should be administering, let me put it that way, HPV vaccine, the human papillomavirus vaccine, as well as the meningococcal vaccine. Now, let's use visual imagery to help us remember this better. These are vaccines to be given at 11 to 12 years of age. So let's draw the number 11 in 2 different ways. 2 straight lines, and then with the slants on top, the slanting edges on top. The straight lines, conjoin them with a horizontal line and it then becomes an edge. And this should help you remember that at 11 years of age, H for human papillomavirus has to be vaccinated against. HPV vaccine should be given. And you turn this one on the left around, flip it, join it to the other M so that this becomes a M. And this should help you remember that the meningococcal vaccine can also be given at age 11 to protect against meningitis. Close quarters, dorms, these are very prone places for the spread of meningitis infection. Mnemonics don't always have to be logical, sensible, civil, or polite. They should simply serve the purpose of helping you remember and recall better. So, building your own mnemonics is often professed to be the better way to memorize things. However, I have felt that sometimes other people's mnemonics can do the trick just as much. That is why there are very popular medical mnemonics. At other times, watching other people's mnemonics in action can trigger and prompt the process of developing your own mnemonics. The goal is to remember however you do it. This immunization schedule will be the thumbnail for this video. Hope you gained something from this. Thank you for watching.